You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Have you ever had something that you would love to pitch to another business owner? Maybe it's a peer, a colleague, somebody out there, and maybe you've held back from doing it just because you were afraid of getting a no. Or maybe you have sent out pitches before. You've tried to pitch an article to media, maybe some press, maybe you've tried to get onto some podcasts and you've just drawn a blank. You've had no response, or you've got no thanks, it's not the right thing. Well, if that's ever happened to you, then this episode is exactly what you need to hear. I'm going to go behind the scenes and share with you what are the really basic rules around pitching, making a pitch, so that you get that heck yes and not a hell no. So stay tuned, it's coming right up.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
When you've been in business any length of time at all, you know that there invariably becomes a time where you want to ask somebody to do something that helps you out in some way. And by doing that, essentially, you are making a pitch to them. You want them to do something to help you that they're not already thinking it's something that they want to do, or at least you're not sure if they are or not. So you're going to make a pitch to them. Now, a pitch is not always something that means money is changing hands. Sometimes it's absolutely free. It's a collaboration. However, anytime we're asking somebody to do something, or we're trying to make a proposition to them, like a proposal, hey, what if we do this? It is essentially a pitch because you're wanting a specific outcome. You want them to say yes. And today's episode is dedicated to how you create an effective pitch so that you get a hell yes or a heck yes, not a hell no, okay? And to be very open and honest with you, because that's just how I speak. I don't like to beat around the bush with it. I see a lot of very, very ineffective pitches. And to be even more honest and brutally honest is I get a lot of them. I get people pitching to me almost every single day. And 99.9% of those get a no. Sometimes not even a no, because I don't even bother. I'm thinking, oh, that was just so lazy. I'm not bothering even responding to it. But there are a few, very few, that get a yes, and an instant yes. So what is it that they've done that gets that yes versus the no? And if you can understand these principles that I'm about to share with you and really think about how you can use them in your business and even in your life, because this isn't just about business, it's actually about getting a yes from someone, whether it's your kids, your partner, your family, your mum, like whoever it is that you would like a yes response from, then these principles I'm going to share with you right now are exactly the same tools that you can use to get that yes from anybody who you're speaking to, which is really exciting. And I think that for me, all of this really cemented definitely once I became a mum. And with kids, it's like everything is blown up to a much bigger degree because they don't have that filter. They don't have their frontal cortex isn't well developed. So logic and their understanding of how to communicate with others is quite limited. And so you get the full response. You know exactly what they think. If they want to do something, they'll do it. If they don't want to, they will say they don't want to. So you get that on a much greater degree, whereas adults, we tend to filter our answers a little bit. We might say there's a reason why we're not going to do it, which isn't the real reason. And That's why I think if you have kids as well, you'll probably be able to reflect on this and really see how it can work and not work, and also test it out with your kids. So you can get a really instant response to seeing, well, actually, this does work. This does help me get a yes more often. And that's what we all want. So number one, the first rule is never assume anything. Okay. What do I mean by that? Well, just think about it for a moment. When you get somebody who, usually it's someone you don't know as well, maybe if they do know you a bit, you're often a little bit more open to their pitch and their proposal. But the majority of us in a business situation, we're pitching to somebody usually that we don't know or don't know very well at all. Now, when you've never had any contact with them ever before, the last thing that you want to do is assume anything. The last thing you want to do is tell them something about their business. Tell them that you know something, or, hey, I can help you do this, because you don't know anything about them at that point in time, apart from what you might have done with your research. But in doing that, and then in saying that you know how to help them, or I've created this video for you with these tips, which is one of the, the sales tricks that I see people trying, you're assuming a whole lot of stuff, and you don't have any idea what it is that you can't see. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know how successful or not successful they are with what they're already doing. And so by you coming out and making that proposition to them straight up, hey, I can help you do this, by saying that, you are assuming that they need it. You're assuming that they're not doing it well at all, which, as you can see, just by me starting to talk about it, that can come across quite offensively. Never make an assumption about anyone or what they might have, which is why it's so important with your language to be really careful about whether you're using the language that is stating things as a fact, and saying, hey, I think you need this, to moderating that a little bit and saying, if you are, you might, you probably could, leave that little bit of room for error in there, in that maybe your assumptions are not correct. Maybe your assumptions that they're just like a whole lot of other people you've spoken to actually aren't the same for them. Because if you don't leave that margin of error, you're immediately putting them into a position where they're feeling like there's some conflict. You've popped up right then and there, and you're making some bold, brash assumptions about them. And 99% of the time that goes horribly, horribly wrong. So please never assume anything. Never assume that you know what they want. Never assume that you know what's working or not working for them. Always ask. You can suggest, for sure. You can say that this is common with other people. Could it be the same for you? You see how that has a totally different feeling to it. It's like you're showing that you understand a lot of what's going on, and maybe it is the same for them. And if it is, then they could take that next step. But most people are not doing this. I could pull out almost every single pitch that I've received in the last month. 99% of them are assuming stuff about my business. They're assuming that I need things because maybe they're like, oh, you're a coach, therefore you need this, or therefore you want this. I actually had two this morning, so I'll just go off on a little tangent here. We'll go down tangent lane for a moment. I had two just this morning, literally both of them saying, hey, I'd like to get you 40 appointments a week, because you're a coach. You must want appointments. I'm like, no, actually, I don't want appointments. I don't want to be making 40 appointments in a week. That would turn me into some kind of crazy sales machine. Like, when would I ever do anything else in my life? You haven't even taken a moment to ask a question. You're literally just assuming that because I'm a coach, I want appointments. Now, that's insanity to me. My style of business is about having less work, having automation, having people who actually want what I do to reach out and book in an appointment with me. Absolutely fine, but I don't want to go out hunting for appointments. I don't want to ask people to get on a call and then have to say to them why they should be there and why they want to listen to me. That is a complete waste of time, because I can tell you right now, those calls would be very low converting. Doesn't really matter what tools I pull out, when they haven't been actively hunting down what it is that I could help them with, then I don't even know why they would agree to be on the call in the first place. But say that these people get them onto a call, how awkward. They haven't actually asked to be on it. They've just shown up because of some reason. I just think, what a waste of my time. I don't want to spend my time on calls. But here these people are popping into my inbox saying, hey, you're a coach, you must want appointments and I can help you get them. And I'm like, no, don't even go there. I do not want them. I only want appointments with people who have actually found me, discovered me, reached out because they can see that I can help them with what they're struggling with. And I love those. They pop up in my inbox because someone goes to my website and they book in a 15-minute free clarity call, discovery call, whatever we want to call it. They book in that call with me because they have found me. They have decided this is what I'm looking for. I seem to like her. I like what she says. Let's have a chat. Fantastic. Those are the conversations that I want to have. I don't want to be sitting on a sales call with someone trying to kind of proposition them and tell them why I'm relevant and explain all the stuff about me. I'm like, what a waste of my time. Imagine doing that over and over and over again. Okay, I've had my little rant there. We went off down Tangent Street. I'm going to come back. So this is why you never want to assume anything, because when you're assuming, most of the time you are not actually on the money at all. You're getting it really, really wrong. And you just put that person in a place where they're already in the wrong frame of mind before you've even gone any further with what it is that you're saying. So we don't want to assume. Brings me to point number 2, and this is really why we're not wanting to assume as well. If you do your research before you make a pitch. So a pitch might be something like, for example, you think, well, I'd like to go on a podcast. I'd like to do some guest episodes, or I'd love to get a story in the media. So instead of just blasting people randomly saying, hey, here's a bit about me, will you have me as a guest on your podcast? Very unlikely to get a yes from that. Whereas if you do your research and you actually specifically choose certain podcasts or certain media that are a really great fit for your message, what you have to say is going to resonate with that audience. The person who owns the audience is going to be much more likely to say yes because you're bringing something of value, something that's relevant, something that they would like to provide their audience with. And suddenly just that relevance and the value that they're perceiving means that there's so much more of a likelihood of them saying yes to you. So you want to do your research in whatever it is that you are looking to pitch for. If this is a sales pitch, make sure that this person really is your ideal client. And what I see happens so often is either they're not doing the research, they're just surface level, they fall into this category of business, therefore they're a potential client. It's like, I think we need to go about 10 levels deeper than that to really pinpoint, are they your ideal client? And if they're not doing this, it's probably because they actually haven't even done the work themselves to understand who their ideal client really is. And this is, I guess, something that is common that I see a lot out there. And it's really why people are even thinking that they need to pitch in the first place for sales, is because you haven't done the research on who your ideal client is and what you're putting out there isn't resonating with anyone because you're not specific enough. When we're looking only at that surface level, so common customer avatars out there that you'd see, dime a dozen, there's all of these ones out there, and they're usually the same things. They're probably following a lot of what, like the Facebook advertising criteria when you go through to choose your audience, the type of things that might have in there, like, gender, age, location. It's like, well, not all the people of a gender who live in a certain location and are of a certain age are going to be the same. So yes, then Facebook lets you go into things like interests. That's getting a little bit better, but just think about the difference. What you can see with someone, the surface level stuff, you can go so much further with that. But then I want you to apply context to it. We want to go beneath the surface. What's actually happening inside their head? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What is the situation that they're in? What is their context? what is that description of the current situation that they're living in, that their business is in? And what are their desires? Like, where do they actually want to get to? Not everybody who's in the same context or situation right now has the same desire. So that still they're not all going to be a match for your ideal customer. This is why your ideal customer, when I teach it through my programs and Business Jam, we go deep. There are lots of layers of the onion that we peel back to get into the heart center. We really define who that ideal customer is, because when you go that deep, then when you're speaking to them, you're so relevant, you're so specific. It's like they think, gosh, you're speaking exactly to me. It's like you really know me. Yes, you do know them, because we've gone that deep. And sometimes things that are on the surface level may not be relevant. Gender might not be relevant. Age might not be relevant. There are so many things that can be far less relevant. It's so much more about what's going on inside the head and inside the body, how they're feeling, where it is that they're going to is far more relevant for you from a business perspective than the external stuff. But most people stop at the surface level. So that was a long-winded point as well. Point number 2, do your research before you pitch. Really think, is what I'm about to pitch going to be something that this person, this business will find valuable, will find useful, will want to say yes to? Because if it's not a great fit for them, then, they're not going to be saying yes. And it's a waste of your time. I'm really big on not wasting your time doing things that have a low chance of success, which is a big reason why I never promote doing cold outreach for sales. Now, when we're talking pitching, I do promote, yes, do pitch to get on a podcast, do pitch to do some PR, maybe a collaboration. But here we get on to number 3, and that is build a relationship first. Don't come straight out of the gate. The first thing that you say to someone is a pitch. Ideally, you want to become a little bit known to them first. So what could that look like? Well, you could follow them on a social media platform that they're active on. You could comment on some of their posts. You could show up. You can then, when you make your pitch, you can actually use that as a really nice icebreaker to open the thread up. Hey, I really love that post that you did the other day on XYZ. Now, anyone can do that and say that, and again, I see people using this wrong. They literally go and look on your page, find a post, then write the email straight away. So it's like, well, I've never seen your name before. You're definitely not following me. I haven't seen you show up in my feed. You've just popped into the inbox and you're saying that you love the post, which means that you've just gone to find something that you wanted to use as an icebreaker. So be genuine, I think, really be genuine in your approach here, because we can all see through the lack of genuine, the lack of authenticity when it is really just about you wanting to get something that you want. Guess what? We all see that. Think about your kids. And so here's where you can apply this to when you're speaking to your kids. And if you said to them, hey, can you go and tidy your room? They're thinking, yeah, I don't really want to tidy my room. So why would I want to do that? There's nothing in it for me, right? Whereas if you said to them, you're like, well, okay, the outcome that I want is for them to tidy the room, but that's not something they want. So what is it that they really want? Maybe it's like, well, when your room is tidy, we could invite your friend over to play. Suddenly, it's about inviting a friend over to play. It's not about tidying the room. And you'll just notice straight away, because we've changed what it's about, it's not something because I want it. It's something because it's what they want. They want to invite their friend over. And the way to do that is to have a tidy room so that we can invite them, because otherwise, we can't really invite them. That wouldn't be nice to invite them around to our house when your room is a complete mess. We've changed the context of what it is that we're propositioning. We've made it very, very relevant, and we've aligned it to what it is that they want. So instead of it coming across as something that I want, it's now something that they want, and here's how you can get it. That's the step that you're going to take so you can get what you want. It's all about them. It's not about me. So this is how you understand, you've got that relationship with someone. You're not assuming anything about them, but the last piece is that you're actually speaking to something that they want. A pitch is not about you, even though the reason why you're doing it is because you want something. If that's how you're going to approach the pitch itself, then it comes across as, hey, hello, I want something. And most of the time, the person on the receiving end is going to be a bit like, well, what's in it for me? If that's not clear, they're probably not going to respond, or they're definitely not going to say yes. You want to get that instant yes, then speak in terms of the other person's interest. Make it really clear this is about them. And, you're coming along, maybe pitching this idea to them, but that there's this really clear benefit in it. There's a reason that they see straight away, because you've just laid it out for them why they would want to do this, why this is of interest to them. It's okay when they can see that there's a value to you in it. But if that's all they're seeing, it's really hard for them, unless they're the person that's literally there going, whatever anyone asks of me, I just want to say yes to it. There can be some people out there, but, most people, human nature is we want to do things. We're more incentivized to do something when we feel that there's a direct benefit to ourselves in it. And direct benefit can be so many different things. I've done a whole episode on how you get to be a guest on a podcast before. So, I've touched on a few of these points here, but I was talking specifically about how you get onto a podcast on that episode. So you can go back and have a listen to that one. I really talk about how you could put together a proposal to a podcast host and what it is that they're looking for when you're propositioning to come on their podcast as a guest. So go and have a listen to that one. But we can extend on those things here and think, well, this is about any sort of pitch that you make. How do you get a yes and not a no? And if you can keep these things in mind that I've mentioned today, then that's how you can get an instant yes. Talk in the terms of their interest. Never assume anything. Always, be very mindful that you're not being arrogant. You're not assuming that you know something about them when you don't know them. And you're giving them that margin to say, yeah, I might be one of the unusual ones, the ones who aren't like all the others. Always create some kind of relationship before you send a pitch and do your research. Make sure you're pitching to the right person, because for your benefit as well as for theirs, you don't want to waste your time. But you also don't want to ruin the chance of a future relationship just from a pure lack of doing the research. And I think if this is something that is worth pitching, then it's something that's worth a little bit of your time, because imagine then if you are getting that yes, instead of getting however many no's before you get a yes, you need to do a lot less research, right? You do a little bit of research, you make a good pitch, you're pitching to the right person. If you're getting a yes, then it's actually saving you time to do that research as opposed to using your time, because you're not going to then be needing to pitch again and again and again to get the yes responses that you're looking for. So I hope that's been really useful for you today. Have a think about this. When are you asking someone to do something? Are you speaking in terms of what it is that they want, of value for them, something that is a clear benefit to them in saying yes to this? Are you being considerate? Are you being mindful that you're not assuming that they want this thing and making an invitation to them to take that next step? So if you found that useful, I'd love for you to let me know, take a screenshot of this episode. If you're listening on your device right now, drop it into Instagram, tag me, send me a DM, pop it in stories, whatever works for you. I would love to see it. I really love to hear from people who are listening in. If you're here and you've been enjoying this podcast, let me know about it. And if you are on Apple, I'd love you to scroll down right now, mark the 5 stars and leave a few words of a review as well, because that helps other people to discover this podcast and to share in, the content, the amazing guests that come on here every second week and join me. There's so many amazing, incredible people out there in the world, and I've been doing my best to bring you a really good cross-section of expertise, really fantastic people who've got so much to share, and I'd love to keep that up. So please let's help share the word, spread the word with other people by rating and reviewing this podcast. I really would appreciate that. I appreciate you being here right now and spending your time with me, and we will talk again next week. Bye. You've been battling with your niche for many years and you know that you could define it better. You're just not sure how, and you keep on getting stuck on how you can be more specific and how you can really find that place that is the right spot for you. How to choose, I guess, the right niche for yourself. Absolutely. Really good question. Well, then I invite you to look at my short course. It's called Know Your Niche. In literally over a weekend, you can get that done. You can define your niche, and next week you can be clear about exactly what it is that you're doing in your business, who it is that you're most wanting to attract, how you can speak to them, how you can make sure your service offering is aligned to them, and build your marketing plan to attract them, to connect with them. Now, Know Your Niche is usually a $297 program. If you head to my website right now at jessicaosborne.com/niche and put in code 50, I will take 50% and you can pay 50%. So we can go halves in the Know Your Niche program as my gift for you for listening to my podcast. Thank you for listening in. And you can get started with your niche definition, really break through some of those barriers and get clear on what it is that you want to be doing, what you want to be known for, who you're wanting to work with, so that you can be more clear, have faster growth, and stand out above the rest as a credible authority in your space. So head to jessicaosborne.com/niche to get clear on how you know your niche right now.